The God did not create me for a speaker, but he found my mouth empty enough. The Goddess did not make me for a hearer, but she found me deaf to all else. The Goddess did not make me for a lover, for she found my arms ready to receive her. The God did not create me for a fool, but he found his laughter resounding. With hearing, speaking, laughing, and lovingly, I offer thanks for all they did not make me. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Poetry Show 29, Created. That's a very rough theme, because these poems touch a little bit on creation in one form or another. That strange, mysterious thing where something is now here that was not there before. When something will be here that is not here now. What a strange thing that is. It's not 2 and 2 equals 4. It's definitely 2 and 2 equals 5, because it makes more of what it is. The Old English rune poem, the first rune there is Feoch, which is translated usually as wealth, but its earlier meaning is that of cattle, because cattle recreate themselves. You have 2 cattle and soon you'll have a bull and a cow, soon you'll have more cattle. That's something that money pretends to do, but doesn't really. And it's in the ground, it's in ourselves that creation is. So these poems touch a little bit on creating, on being created. Let's make a start. Create. Do we create? Or do we just catch up with who we are? I mean, we do not watch our children grow, but look from time to time to know that yes, they are much bigger than before. Doing things now we never foresaw, a gap of inches marked upon the upright of a door. And if we don't create, do we stay within that older vision of ourselves, a captured specimen within a jar? It's almost too imperceptible to see that thing emerging out of nothing, out of non-existence into existence. So yeah, I can totally see that we need to mark it and then come away and look again. Created. We are what we are and always will be. But looking around, we made ourselves out of dust, out of tree, out of earth, air, water, discovered fire, and deemed it always me, clinging to the thing consumed, and so never free. That battle between what is known, and what is to be. I think that might terrify us more than many other things. The idea that we don't know who we are yet. We don't know what we're going to become. or perhaps more frightening. I don't know, that perhaps we have more tolerance than other people, not knowing who we are yet. Here's one of the old ones, sort of 31 years old. A creation story, created man. The god crouched, stamped dust into feet, spat to the earth in the earthman's face, who turned a back with no wings. The god punched, pressed features into him, ripped from the hinges the door. The earthman writhed on a floor with no dance. The god held, pulled space into motion, expanded the universe to take in his size. The earthman knelt with no thigh. The god heard the voice of his child sing nonsense, sing faltered in learning to fly. And that sense of not being able to control the creation of the thing, what the created thing will then do. This is a perspective I've gained from writing after reading and suddenly finding myself in the place of those poets from before. A poem called New. As if those words were somehow found, engraven in some first creator's palm, left perhaps in cold granite when still clay-like, as if authority came from stability and forethought, not from a wild, unwise grasping out of empty air, sights half seen, elusive meanings only part embraced for something inexpressible in words. As if any of us really knew what we were doing. My moments of pursuing into darkness the albatross, the wren, the nightingale, not knowing where it should end. Seeing your mastery brought you through the storm. Still, why did I assume you knew? Perhaps it's a fallacy that people have, that things created equal the thing something intended. I know the very short one, which I didn't pull out here, but it does mention all it thinks about how the sense of failure, having pursued that urge to write something, express something, and then having a look at what you've got as a result and thinking, oh, I failed again. Trying again. This is another one from 30 years ago, 1991. Wow. Certainly didn't know what I was doing then. With the tension of a divination prowling through my under eye, I grip a pen of ball and ink to trap a worry, tug it kicking from my mind. Heaving at the smoke that trickles down my lungs and bellows to my blood, I hood my eyes no more, store the lies no more. Flick the flies and dust from the bust creativity that hides beneath a crust. Tobacco rolled into my paper, licked the gum, cocked the gun, held it in a fog of rancour. Tension dies beneath the shot, uncoiled like a flintlock spring. The hammer strikes, I like the light and fire, sighs into my life, falls onto the floor. Here is something that was never here like this before. Take the divination up, take up the divine, take the tension in the cup, make it into wine, put the ragged cutlass by and take it for a sign. There is resolution here, there is tension in this line. Not restful, like my sleepless state, breathing in the drowsing fire, smoking till the hour's late. Working till my functions tire, staking out the increate, with tindered boxes made from wire. How you doing? Saz, you there, Ella and Carlos. Thank you again. Good to see you. Now, special guest time. This is reading from a friend's published work, often to their complete surprise. A second appearance for another friend. This time, my friend Polly, who goes now by the name Polly Stretton, but at the time was writing as Polly Robinson. And I'm wanting to read from her tiny, slim set of poems called Chatterton, which are all inspired by this particular painting. Chatterton lying dead in his attic, the original starving poet in the garret. Died at just 17. The collection is made up of very small poems, each from a different voice, a different person in the poet's life. And I'd like to read, I'm thinking, if she doesn't mind, I'd like to read the whole thing. It's very short, but read it all as one piece. If you don't know anything about Chatterton, he was born in 1752, so a while ago. His father was already dead. He learnt to read from these huge church books, and as a young man started writing poems, not believing they'd ever be published. He faked them, saying that they were by a unknown monkish poet called Rowley. And he had them published as part of this fakery, this hoax, I don't know. Then in the end he did tell them who he was, that he was the right writer, and got some admonishment for it, I think. He moved from Bristol to London, and struggling as a poet, he was found dead aged 17. It was unsure whether it was suicide or whether he'd accidentally overdosed on arsenic to cope with, to help heal some venereal disease. So the collection is made up of different people in his life, his sister, the artist who painted the picture, a girl he knew, his mother, a doctor, his patron, the poets of the time, his father, and then himself. And it begins with this prologue, and I'm going to dispense with the titles of each piece and just read it all through, and I think it will be clear enough. So this is Polly Robinson's Chatterton. He learned to read from a black letter Bible, was thought a backward boy, no scholar, lonely, close and comely, poor boy was deemed a dullard. He forged his first letters from illuminated capitals, cutting consonants, reviewing verbs, giving names to nouns. Memory on memory make his story. They talk of it still, sighing their sorrows. Merciless London, no crumb offered. The baker rebuffed him for begging a loaf. My brother, cleave to my heart. Your heart stopped beating while we were apart. My breast rises to my throat, glimpse the arsenic vial by a blood-red coat. My earliest work, my most famous Chatterton, I immortalized him in oils, such a stir this painting caused. My philosophy on artists, he a martyr. Pellucid dawn shine through casement, light, livid flesh, innocence and serenity. I am true to nature, his nature. Ha! The phial of poison, poison be damned. You laid with me, you laid with her, you gave me the clap, damned womanizer. Swigging gin to make you better, couldn't even get that right. Ah, Dulcinea, you said, with you I lay and pay to stay with you. Your cheeks crumpled, you chewed opium, swallowed drips, lethal drops of arsenic in water. See the phial rolling on the floor? Stop! Too much will see you off, I warned. I told him I miss him. Geranium scents the pale garret breeze ruffling his hair, his dead hair. Hair I've brushed so many times. My brilliant boy, he lies there still, blue as his breeches, blue as the morning sky. I will go mad, see his lifeless hand. Suicide, whisper shreds of papers. My dear would not choose to leave this way. No suicide embrace for me, he wrote. The poet's penance is to live. Oh, my boy, my life. Where was the time to put things right? My ice blue sun. I'll smell it. Kilo cure. Gonorrhea. To medicate, numb, to end the fear. Meant or unmeant, whatever has he done, the poet in the garret, poor and young. I look down on him, my head aches. Such waste. Try as I will, I fail to veil distaste. Do not pass your fakes on to me. I've been caught before, ignominiously. Show me they've never been printed, I say. I will become your patron. Then I discover he's but a boy, 16. 16? Still wet and green. A boy? His poetry? A forgery. My face is flushed and full. My nostrils flare like a bull. My scorn knows no redemption. I send him away, snub him, ignore his feeble pleas. It simply cannot be believed that he wrote even one of these pieces said to be by Rowley. He tries to make a fool out of me. Light, bright, white, purest white writer. Water pours through poetry. Words wind on lines in textured taste, a snow-like shirt. Lyrical lad in soft sheened stockings, he charms, disarms. Soon as the morn but newly wake, wild words on freedom, red girls. The doctor asks, whatever has he done? Scabra satires and political polemics, the Rowley rhythm, a modern romantic, beckoned by the golden world. Write to Walpole, they said, and so he was branded. Notorious, vainglorious hoaxer, indentured Bristolian forger, inventor of Rowley, a monk, for heaven's sake. A magical marvel, sulky, sardonic, sensitive, suspicious, with a voice worth straining one's ears. William's words. The marvellous boy who walked in glory and in joy, who will forever pique imagination. Cut is the branch that might have grown full straight. We did not meet in life, and so we meet in death, as breath leaves too soon. Oh, sing unto me around a lay, oh, dropper the briny tear with a me, dance nae more at a harly day, like a raining river be. Those are all from Polly's Chatterton, published by Pear Press. And I'll put the details of that online on the comments afterwards. Call it writing, though it's not about the pen to paper. Call it writing, though it's not about the words. Call it writing, and then look away. Across Ginnungagap red leaps fire gold, boiling eternity once nailing down. Call it scratching with fire into ice. Call it clothing fire in solid cold. Call it creating being. This has not been said before, though lived. This has not been lived before, though felt. This has not been felt before many times. The web, the weave, formed from thread, single thread, spinning out of formless fibres, grown from sheep's back. From where? Call it that which has never been. Call it that which is uncreated. Call it unnamed, unmade, unturned as yet, uncalled. Death and life in one and never been, is and was on only the one side of the scale, that which throws both hope and terror from a well. The god takes an eye, unplugs it, cheaps it for a drink. The artist drinks to find a means to wrestle it. The rest of us, under drugs to slumber. Fire in the leaves, heat on the face, unharming. I scratch into earth, but cannot call it. The one in the corner, secreting wine, blood, sweat from their fingers. Writing. That was one of mine called Misnamed. It's not just about writing, of course, but putting any vision, any story, any thought into some shape, not even knowing where those thoughts and ideas come from. Empty inside. I was shown inside. There was a steam inside, which kept me from seeing too far, kept me seeing too many patterns in the cloud. There was a cauldron inside. Black oil bubbling cold, draining, hot water scalding, spitting. Empty inside, no bottom to it, empty, lifeless, empty, lightless. Put your hand inside, they said. Reach into the nothingness, reach into the need to be complete. I put my hand inside. Felt a hand in my chest, cold grip, tight grip, going into soft grip. Brought out this poem. Brought out my love, everything I had ever created. Space, we need space to create into. We need room for stuff to come into. Not always possible to do, not always possible to find. That'd be good. David, you're there too. Wonderful. Hello. So, earlier on, there was a poem, Created Man, a kind of creation myth, how a person was formed. This one is a return to that thought, but drawing out of Norse mythology. The first people, the first woman, the first man, are said to have been shaped out of driftwood by the gods. She from an elm, he from an ash. This poem, the first couple of verses aren't mine. They're a quote from the Voluspa, the poem of the Sibyl, in a translation by W.H. Auden and P.B. Taylor, essentially talking about the three gods who find the driftwood on the beach and then decide to shape them into something. And then it goes into my poem. And it's called Askr och Embla, Ash and Elm. Then from the host three came, great, merciful, from the gods' home. Ash and elm on earth they found, faint, feeble, with no fate assigned them. Breath they had not, nor blood, nor senses, nor language possessed, nor life hue. Odin gave them breath, Aenir senses, blood and life hue, Thothur gave. First breath is thick with bits of meat, coming in like a cock, eye prying, skin thrown back, blowing lungs into soft wood, sick too in the gut. Salt too in the air, sucked out again, and then you're gasping, grappling with a torn chest, gullet torn, golden honey too in the spit flood, flung from a god's mouth. Honey too, and teeth taking root on the first wind, Woden has been drinking. Hands then tight, twisting rope hands to hone a neck, to make a head bulge, squeeze a neck, scrounge the eyes, one to use, one to give away. Ploughing fingers, planting space between the ribs, tying knots into guts, into sinew, opens up a face, thumbs pushing hard to hollow sockets. Solid drool dribbled into balls, spiked with a spear, spillages of sun and moon seize the mouth, sending lips, hurls wave ripples to shape whirls of ears. Sharp fire scours under skin's roots, screaming scents scavenged by the other. A second breath sent through the chest to turn heart wood to heavy water, some to piss, some to pass into wood-wormed veins, Woden again. And his lips have stayed on yours, stripping off the cracked bark, baying tongue, colour swept across with the swill of God's piss, golden glowing on the skin, gladdening hue. He thrust his fist into me, fingers spreading, eggs beneath his nails, enough to carry many, closed again now like a grip. He made a fist of me, fingers missing, only thumb, and eggs within the sack, his fingers' wrinkled stamp still showing. My head is torn, hewn in two, into day and night, nothing drops in the unmoving pool, in the middle well. Then the first thought sinks, falling like a given eye, glaring as it falls, gouges the still water. First thought thrust through the murk, keep it in your mind, catch it in the fist. Head is split in half, hungry fingers squeezing out the tongue, sets it ringing, foot upon the stomach, steps down, vomits up a voice, vision clearing. First sound is the sow's cry, boar's bellow, bollocks and the thigh's lips given teeth, tearing at the still, hand in the hank of hair around your neck, hauls you to your feet, hangs you there. You can still feel in your foot the root wood, free to walk, heartwood in the thigh, knots in the knees and the knuckle bend, sap between the rings, rising loud and quiet. And here, where the third found another way in, the sticky seed left, steeply clinging, held within the husk, hurls itself into the earth. Fiercely, the firth flings into weird. You said creation was a quiet thing. One, two, three. More to read you if it's all right. It is a mystery I keep coming back to. Where does this stuff come from? I don't mean mine, it's only for all of us. Ideas just bring you to life. Is it dependent upon where we've been before? Were they always hanging there like a little star in the heavens waiting for us to orbit into them? I don't know. Words come from. I am coming to the place where the words come from. And yes, it is scattered around with bones. We all need to eat. Once upon a time, it was birds flying in from the clouds, the crevices, meaning in their bills. Before that, water gurgitating out of ground. Now, it is a beast. I found it as a small thing, almost cute in its rat skin. It carried things on a voice like a creak, kissing with the wind, but soon it found a vowel and a licked lip, took it on a turn. Now, and I don't know when, it has become a shaggy, horned thing, shaggy as a yak, and she sings the sweetest song. When I settle, back leaning on her side, I can watch her breathe in all the spirits of the world, threading in like silks, like smoke. Her teeth sorts them into lines. When she speaks and her ribs wobble and quiver hits her mouth, I must listen, catch and write it down. All she has to thank me for is feeding her. All I have from her is my scattering of bone and the flesh it carries. I think there was something with that one, aiming to touch on the relationship, the nurturing of the relationship that allows stuff to trust that you'll hear it when it speaks. That what wants to be said, wherever it comes from, whether it's mine or from elsewhere, trusts me to hear it and put it down and share it. That does require a certain amount of self-trust, a certain amount of practice, a certain amount of forgiveness for all the silly stuff that comes out. And the trust that it must have some value, some worth, even if it's just to one other person in the world. Sometimes not heard. There was a call. It came from the high places. It said, "Do not bow your head again." There was a call from the solid ground. It offered up a hand. It grew evergreens from a pink heart. There was a call from her womb. Said, I am strong, but in this I need your protection. There was a call from his blood. I must be held too, he said, when I've spilled and before I have spilled. I look at you listening. I wonder what kind of call am I? What did I say brought you here? And will you remain when my voice dries? There was a call I had to follow. Did you hear it too? Hush, you say. There is a call. Yes, I say. There is a call. Sometimes not heard. Just the one left now, so this is to say thank you for listening in. I hope it made some sense. I hope you enjoyed and you got something from it. The video will be on the timeline just afterwards, and the set list in amongst the comments. And there'll be a link to other earlier videos as well. Part of it, I think, is feeling that there are people who want to hear. Perhaps that's the thing that kills it off for so many. That thought that nobody wants to hear me. Which is a very sad thing. And even the gods have doubts about their creations. There's a tale out of Yoruba tradition about the goddess Yemaya, a creation goddess, who made the rivers and oceans, the stars, the sun, the moon, people. This is even she doubted herself once in this called Yemaya Prayer. Yemaya sang across the world. Rivers and oceans fell from her body. Stars, sun and moon born from her belly's swell. Women of 1,000 graces made in her womb. Looking upon them all, it is said she doubted her own beauty. Till the rivers, oceans, stars, sun and moon, and women of 1,000 graces sang across the world. We are you, Yemaya, we are you. 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 May our songs and creations be as kind to us all.